So this is a 2024 Tesla Model Y, and on this video I'm going to be replacing the original 19-inch Gemini wheel trims with some new ones I bought on AliExpress. So on the Tesla Model Y, on the rear-wheel drive and long-range models, you have a 19-inch alloy wheel, but it's covered over with this plastic wheel trim, and this improves aerodynamics and therefore improves range. But you can remove these and fit aftermarket wheel trims, which is something I've not actually done before. There we go. So that's what the alloy wheels look like underneath, and what some people do is just buy a hub cover here and wheel nut covers and leave the naked alloy, but of course you're going to have slightly decreased efficiency. But the advantage of buying aftermarket wheel trims is they go over this lip of the alloy. So if we have a look at the rear wheel here, you can see that the Tesla covers don't cover the edge of the alloy, and if you curb your wheels you still damage the alloy. So a lot of the third-party wheel trims go over this edge, and therefore if you curb your wheel you're just going to curb the plastic wheel trim, and they're obviously much cheaper and easier to replace. So I bought a set of wheel trims from China, and this is how they came packaged, and they're each in individual bubble wrap bags, and I've gone with a similar design to the original Tesla ones, but in grey and gloss black. So most people just go with a matte black wheel trim, but I quite fancied still having a two-tone colour rather than going completely matte black, and I thought these might look quite good because they sort of match the original Tesla wheel trim, and also the newer models in China, which we will eventually get sometime in probably summer 2024, have also gone black as well, and they're not too dissimilar to these. So this is slightly larger and covers that lip, and because it's the same design, I'm assuming it's going to be about the same aerodynamic properties as well. And I didn't want to get a wheel trim where I'd have worse range, because this is the rear wheel drive with a smaller battery anyway, and I didn't want to degrade that efficiency figure just because I'd put some poor design wheel trims on. So hopefully these will be exactly the same. I'm sure they will be, but will improve the look a little bit. So the ones I bought here, this seller had various options. They had an all gun grey, a grey and black, and a matte black, and they did both in symmetrical or asymmetrical design. So they've called these ones symmetrical. To me, I think they're asymmetrical, but anyway, what they're calling symmetrical is that you have a left and a right and the different design, whereas the asymmetrical, they're all the same wheel trim. So what it means is on one side the wheel trims are going to be turning this way, but then on the other side of the car they're going to be going this way, and the pattern stays the same. So in my mind that makes them asymmetrical, but I'm probably wrong. So the ones I bought, they are called left and right, grey and black, and they're calling them symmetrical. So in each colour, either the all grey, grey and black, or matte black, you can have symmetrical or asymmetrical. So if we look on the back of this one, it's got an L there because that's a left, and then we look on the back of that one, there's a R down there because that is a right, and then there's the valve hole there, and there's the valve hole on that one. So if we put them side by side, we should see there is a difference. Yeah, so there's your valve. So on this side the black gloss trim is on that side of the valve hole, and on this side it's on this side of the valve hole. So that's the difference between the two. In the kit there is some of this sticky foam tape, and you stick that around the edge of the wheel trim there, and that stops the plastic rubbing on the edge of the alloy. And you have to do this yourself. This is very thin foam though. I would say that's only 1 millimetre thick, so I don't know how good a job that's going to do, because the lip on there is certainly greater than the foam. But anyway, and then you've got your fixings here. These grip on the spokes on the alloy, which I'm sure these metal clips are going to scratch the lacquer and paint on the alloy, but I suspect the original Tesla ones are very similar as well. Yeah, they're not quite the same, are they? But anyway, they're metal and they're going to scratch as well. And then with these you also get a set of logos that go in the middle, which I wasn't quite sure from the advert, because while they show them there and it says 4x logo, it doesn't actually show you what they are, but that's what they are. They are matte grey to match these, and then you stick those in the middle, and this replicates the sort of uncoloured Tesla logo that you have on the original Gemini wheels as well. I did also buy these ones on AliExpress because I wasn't sure what these wheel trims are going to come with. So these only cost £2.47 for a set of 4, and I went with gloss black with a silver logo, so I could either have that look or that look. And I'm not sure which to go for. This one I'm sort of leaning towards because the Tesla logo is more prominent, it's silver, whereas on this one, when that's dirty, you wouldn't even see the logo, and it just looks like a plain wheel trim. But that one's a little bit more subtle and maybe a little bit more original. I'm not sure, but anyway, whatever one I choose, if I get bored I can pop it out and stick on the other ones. So what did these cost me? Well, I paid £117.07 back in December 2023, and that's including UK VAT and obviously delivery to the UK. But I've just printed this out here today and I see they've slashed the price down to £41.62. You've got to add VAT onto that, but they have dramatically dropped the price since I bought these, which is a shame because I haven't actually fitted them yet. But anyway, I clicked on the ones I bought, which is the left, right, grey, black, and it's now saying out of stock. But I'll put the link to these in the video description below, and also to the badges, and if I can find the same on Amazon I'll put those links in the video description below as well. So the first job is to put this foam around the edge here and do that on all four. So I'm going to do that off camera because it's a bit difficult holding the camera to do that job. But anyway, you don't really need to be shown what to do there. That's a very simple job. Just stick that around all the edge, cut it with scissors and repeat 4 times. So that's the foam tape put on the first one, and actually I think it's only going to be touching the alloy wheel on these raised bits of plastic on the spokes, just there and there. The rest of it, I don't think it's really going to be touching the alloy. It's just going to be these bits. So this one is a right, so let's go and put this on, and I've gone with the matte subtle Tesla logo, and from what I've seen online, when you're putting these on, what you need to do is line it up and then snap the middle bit in the hub first and then bang it on the spokes. If you do it the other way round, they can break, and people have cracked their wheel trims because this was punched in last. I hope I've got that right. But anyway, before I put it on, as far as quality goes, how do they compare to the original Tesla ones? Well, certainly the plastic is thicker on the Tesla wheel trims. This certainly feels lighter and a little bit more brittle, as it were. But anyway, once they're on the car and they're snapped in place, then is that really going to matter? I doubt it. So, find the hole for the valve. It is there. And then line it all up. As you can see, I've never done this before, but the way it works is those go between the spoke, clearly. And once you do that, actually it lines up very nicely. So, have I got that right? You meant to push them in there first, in the middle. Oh. God. I'm not sure. Let's just remove that. That is very stiff. We're going to make a balls up of this on camera. So, oh no, that really doesn't want to go in there. So maybe you do that bit last. Yeah, that's got to go in a long way, yeah. Oh, it just doesn't want to go in. That's strange. So one thing I was wrong about is the clips. The metal clips aren't going over the spokes. The clips are going between the spokes, so there's no metal or aluminium contact. It's just plastic on aluminium. So I got that bit wrong. So let's try again and see if I can get that middle bit in. Oh. Doesn't help that it's very cold, and obviously plastic is a bit brittle in the cold, but that is tight. I think I'm going to have to get a block of wood and hit that with a mallet. So that's now in. I ended up doing that off camera. I gave that a really hard punch with my fist and it popped in. So that one's now on. So let's just get all that dust off them. I hope I haven't scratched them. No, I haven't. Oh, there is some fine scratches on there already. How did that happen? I didn't notice that I'd got them on the ground. That's a shame. So, how does that look? Which ones do you think look the best? Well, the new ones certainly make the wheels look much bigger. The only downside of using a black wheel trim with a silver alloy behind is when you're at an angle like this, you can see the silver alloy. But it certainly makes the wheels look larger. So I'm going to crack on now and do the other three. These centre caps with the logo on, they are just a piece of pressed aluminium, and they do have a lip around them. But I find that it's very difficult to drop them in the exact right place, and as soon as they drop, they stick. And this one I've dropped slightly off centre. There's a bigger gap there and it's not sitting flush, but that's now stuck and I can't push it across. So they're not the easiest things to get right. I could potentially get a plastic trim tool in there and lever that up, but this finish on these wheel trims scratch really easily, so I don't think it's worth the risk. Because are you going to notice that that's not quite in the centre, particularly when it's dirty and covered in mud? I doubt it. I'd then forgotten to turn my microphone on, but anyway, I then fitted the rear wheel cover and this time gave it a harder thump in the middle, and that seemed to do the job. And I then cleaned it with the microfiber cloth, and I noticed I'd scratched this wheel trim as well. I don't know how, maybe there was a bit of grit in the cloth, but it was quite minor. But I also noticed that the centre of the wheel trim had concaved in more, and the wheel trim doesn't actually sit flat on the wheel. So I had a look at the front one and noticed that one needed a bit more of a thump as well. So that's them fitted. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to know people's views on them. So with the Model Y, because you get black trim around the wheel arches and obviously you've got the black trim along the sills, I think they go pretty well, particularly with the white paintwork. And I'm quite pleased actually with the two-tone effect. So when you're close you can tell that is grey with gloss spokes, but from a distance, from 2 or 3 metres away, they just look like black wheel trims, but maybe a little bit more interesting than the plain matte black that many of the others are. And it certainly makes the wheels look larger. So yeah, I think it's maybe made the car look a little bit sportier. But anyway, they're pretty cheap, and if you get bored or you damage them, then it's a 10-minute job to switch back to the original Tesla Gemini covers. And as I said, because the design of these is almost identical to the Gemini covers and the gaps in the spokes are almost the same, there's no point doing efficiency test, because I'm sure these new ones will have exactly the same results. So I think that will do for this video. Let me know what you think, and actually if you've got these, let me know about the longevity, because already I've got a scratch on those ones. I've got a light scratch on these as well, and they've only been out the packet 5 minutes. Well, I did take them out originally when the box was delivered and had a quick look at only 1 or 2 of them. So I've only had them in the boot, put the foam on while I'm doing this recording, and they've got scratched already. And I don't think they were scratched from the factory before they went in those bubble wrap bags. So I must have done it, because I didn't notice the scratches when I looked at them originally, but they seem to scratch very easily. But anyway, maybe I'll do an update video in the future. So if you found this video useful, please do click the thumbs up button. As always, that really does help. Do subscribe to the channel. If you want to know more about the Tesla Model Y, I'll put a link in the video description below to a playlist where you can see those other videos. There aren't too many yet, but more are coming, and more are filmed and will be released over the coming weeks and months.